Hello, this is Sarah V, and today I am going to be making a dress. I originally wanted to make that white blouse, and I haven't done anything with it because I need to scale the pattern up, and I've been too lazy to do that, so I am going to do Simplicity 9464, and the pattern is already cut out. I cut it out a couple years ago, so it should be pretty easy. I will have to grade it up in the waist, but other than that, it should be fine because I can just do that while I cut it out and hope I don't forget to, and then, it'll be great. The fabric I have is this border print that I got at a sewing sale a couple years back. And I think it will be super cute as this dress, and I don't think I've used a border print before. So it'll be a fun ride. Also, my sewing room is absolutely a disaster because I've been bringing stuff home from my parents' house, cleaning out my bedroom, and I had people over, so I kind of put everything in my sewing room. So this morning I had to kind of clear it out a bit and put some stuff away so that I could even walk in here. But yeah, that is the plan for today. This is going to need ironed. So maybe I'll turn on the iron and I'll perhaps share a bit of my garden before it gets too hot out. I think it's around 10 right now. I don't know. I think this clock is wrong. If that clock is right, it's 10:30. Let's see. It's 11:06. That clock is not right. So I need to change the batteries in that at some point. But yeah. I figured I would film the introduction before I go out in my garden because it gets quite hot out right now. I am in zone 6 and the days have been like in the high 80s, low 90s, so it's been real good. Anyway, so up front here, there was a greenhouse sale because it was the end of the season. It was 50% off. So I got this yellow pear tomato, which this one down here has started blushing. And then I got this big rainbow tomato, and it didn't look super great in the beginning and the sun was getting to it, but it is doing pretty good now. Put 2 marigolds in with it, some basil, and then these little tomato plants that I grew from seed, but they were kind of little, but they seem to be doing a lot better since I put them in the ground. I don't know if I'll get any tomatoes from them. But in my first bed back here in the front, I have more marigolds. Some of them are short because, like I said in my last video, I didn't pay attention to the height, and I have 2 different marigolds in here. And I have bush beans in here, which I think they keep getting scorched from the sun. And then I have cucumbers. This is my biggest cucumber. This is my pinky finger for scale. This used to be oregano, and it kept getting dark spots all over it because I think it couldn't breathe very good. So I pulled it out. And I also have 5 cucumber plants here when I should have 2 because I didn't have the heart to take them out. There used to be beets in the middle here. I pulled those. This is all kale. I have onions here on both sides. Marigolds, garlic. My cosmos, which bloomed today for the first time. These are my cabbages. more marigolds. I also have planaria over there. I have thyme tucked under there, which maybe I wouldn't do that next time because I worry about it getting gross. My little rosemary, which got a little damp and it had some black stuff on it, which I took off. And it's been doing pretty good since. These are my Brussels sprouts. I have pineapple sage and regular sage. This is my first marigold bloom. Over here I have two different bush tomatoes which have absolutely taken over the whole beds. Cherry back there. And this one's just bush beefsteak. These are more cosmos. Carrots, which is a kaleidoscope blend. I had spinach and lettuce in there, but they've gotten real sad and they bolted and some of them rotted. These are more bush beans, which I would not put them that close because I didn't realize they were bush beans and I made sad little trellises. I wouldn't do that again because it's hard to get to the tomatoes. I have Swiss chard down there. I had some peas down there, but the bottoms rotted and they weren't really producing many peas anymore, so I pulled them yesterday. More cucumbers, which I have 8 cucumber plants for 2 people, which is way too many. But I'm waiting for my tomatoes to blush. These are all cherry ones. And I also have just more marigolds growing. And then onions over here. Then this is my 4th bed. Marigolds, more onions, peppers. Where is he at? There's my biggest pepper. It got a brown spot on it. I don't know what that is. And I have these peppers that are just down in there because I also got those at the greenhouse sale. And I didn't know I want to put them where my broccoli's at when my broccoli's done. Which I probably shouldn't have planted the broccoli and the peppers in the same bed. It's too late for that now. Basil. For whatever reason, this basil, the leaves aren't cupping like this basil. And the flavor is a little lighter. But I got 2 containers of basil. And this one was in part of that one. So I don't know. It came with my basil. But these are sweet peppers. And these are Hungarian peppers. Also sweet. They're either red or orange. My broccoli. Have green onions. I had beets here too, but I pulled those. And beets on the end. I had a whole bunch of beets. I need to trim down my dill. It looks very, very sad. But my broccoli is getting pretty good. So that's exciting. Then this whole issue back here, lots of radish blossoms. This is a butternut squash here, and a pumpkin coming from this side, which is crossed all the way down to here. I have an acorn over in this corner, but it hasn't really taken off like the other ones. And I have peas and bush beans in the middle of there, which I probably shouldn't have, but because they're going to be impossible to get now. More marigolds. And these were all sparkler radishes. I was trying to do a wildflower circle, but I might pull this out and plant a zucchini here and this circle of bricks. We'll see. Then I have more radishes. And these little watermelons that I don't think I'll get watermelons from this year because they are quite small. Here's another one. I have one in every corner, which maybe is excessive, but I didn't know what I was doing. More marigolds, more beans and peas, more radishes. These ones have pink flowers, which I thought was pretty, and these ones have purple flowers. But yeah, that's about it. Right now I am just figuring out where I'm going to be laying the skirt panels so that ideally the border matches up, and I'm adding room to the sides. But anyway, it's been maybe 3 or 4 weeks since I filmed my garden, and looking back at it, it's a lot has changed in it since I filmed it, so I'll have to do another update for that if anyone wants to see that. But yeah. After that, I was harvesting a couple cucumbers a day once my cucumbers came in. And I've given so many cucumbers away, and I was eating at least a cucumber a day. And it was just a lot of cucumbers. But I think they are kind of wrapping up. And if they're not wrapping up, it's just because the cucumber beetles are making them wilty. So there's that. I've also acquired a couple more plants since then. And I pulled my cabbages since then because the cabbage worms were starting to get in them. And I didn't want them pooping everywhere and being inside my cabbage. And I haven't really been keeping up on my Brussels sprouts, so we'll see if I end up with any Brussels sprouts this year, because there was a lot of worms on them. I went out to get some herbs when I was making dinner, and my thyme is under some of my Brussels sprout leaves, if you saw previously. And there was so many worms under the leaf. It was disgusting, but they didn't look like the other cabbage worms, which was weird. So I don't know. I think I need to go through and squish some of them because that was just gross. Next year I definitely want to try to plant as many of the brachyses, I hope I'm saying that right, into one bed as I can, and make sure it's just like they have enough nutrients, and then just cover it with row cover so that the little white moths can't land on it, because I hate it. And I would want to do something like that for my squash because the vine borers are terrible. I would say in my garden they're kind of moderate. It's not like they're super duper bad, but they're still not great. I've had to go out a couple times when I thought I had all the eggs off of it and extract them with a knife, but yeah, they're gross. I don't like it. Except they're so big, it makes it hard to cover it with, unless I don't know, it's just hard to cover it because of how large they are. And I'm kind of weary of spraying for stuff because I don't completely understand the effects of it. But I'll have to look into that more because ideally I wouldn't be spraying anything on my food because I don't know, I just don't like that. But I might have to, especially for the vine borers. Oh, and today I had a pumpkin. It was growing up the fence. And I was over in my tomatoes, picking tomatoes, and I heard a plunk sound and some leaves rustling. And I almost forgot to check on it before I went inside, but I checked and it wasn't on the vine anymore. So I have a green pumpkin that I guess I'm going to have to eat like a summer squash. I guess there's worse things. I would not say that this was the best job I ever did cutting something out, but it's a job. It's a little, not my finest cutting job, but it will have to do. I'm not sure. I am thinking, I hope you can hear me over my air conditioner, to do a middle band in this that's separate to kind of, I guess, snatch in the waist and give it some contrast between the top and the bottom. Right now I am sewing in all of the darts, and I was having issues with the tension. And I think then I broke the needle, and I changed the needle because it was broken. And I think there must be just a hair of polyester in this fabric, because this sewing machine sews so beautifully on fabric until there's like a little bit of polyester in it, or if it's just polyester, and then it gets a little fussy. But I did have it sew absolutely beautifully on some polyester. What kind of fabric was that? It looked like, I think it was kind of like an organza, but it was a polyester voile. But it sewed absolutely beautiful on that. But then you get something like this, and it's a cotton blend, and the tension just isn't quite right. So, but it sews through rayon beautifully too. Now I am just sewing the facings at the shoulder seams, and I interfaced this. I think it's that Pellon woven interfacing that I'm using. Okay, so I have the facing done. Let me zoom that out, that's a bit intense. I have the facing done, and then these sleeves have the gathering in, which I'm going to put these on after I do the facing, which I absolutely love doing the facing. Oh, so much fun. If I didn't put the facing on now, I might put this down and not pick it up for a couple days, which is not what I want to happen. We have this. It is a mess in here. My apologies. But move this. So far this looks alright. Okay. So with my shoulder seams up on my shoulders where they should be, I think at least from the front, that looks like it will fit pretty good there through here. Because that's getting to the sides. It looks like it fits pretty good in the front. I can't really tell with the back because it's buttons up the back. And I don't have the sides in yet, which I am putting a zipper in the side instead of snaps. So it will have a snap closure, except not a snap closure anymore. Have a zipper closure in the side and then buttons in the back. And I am using these red buttons that I got at the Joann. So yeah. I did have to look and see how to put this facing in just because of this weird overlapped section where the facing meets the placket in the back. But other than that, it was easy, pretty straightforward. I ended up sewing the placket down. I didn't put any interfacing in it. Maybe I'll regret that, but I don't right now. I wore it out and about and I didn't have any issues with that. But I just don't like putting facings in, and it's not like they're hard. It's not my favorite. So it doesn't fit too bad. It is a bit roomy in the waist, which I could take that in, or just say, oh well, and make a belt to go with it, and then it'll be a little comfier. Another thing is, even though I did add some extra room, like when I cut it out, I basically added the next size in, it is still, my range of motion is not great. So I could add a gusset under here just so I can move a little better, because I raise my arm and the whole dress is going to go up, and that's not as cute. I also feel like this maybe needs a little of this red up here, right along this edge up here. Something to think about, I guess. I don't know, maybe it's just this high neckline. Not sure, but maybe the answer will present itself once the skirt's on it, to kind of have a little more of this red on there. So I think I will unpick these sleeves under here. Oh, it also doesn't help that everything I have is cut on the cross grain, just because the border was along the selvage. So the part with stretch is no longer across. It's up and down now. So it's stretchy this way, but not this way. So it might have been fine if it was cut the other way, but it's too late for that. And also there was no other way to get the border across like that, so there's that. I did not end up putting a gusset in under the sleeve. I did put one in, but it was kind of rough and it looked really weird and I was frustrated with it. And yeah, so I ripped it out, redid the serging, and ended up just letting it out about 1/2 inch from that tuck that they had me put in the sleeve. So it's a little less puffy there, but my arms have a little more room. It doesn't really fix the mobility issue completely, but I think just with the fact that there's not really any give in the fabric, that it's just gonna have to be that way. And I decided to put the pocket in differently than I usually do. I have been doing it where I sew it in, I think, at about a 1/4 or 3/8. I think 3/8. Sew it in at 3/8, and then sew the skirts together above the pocket and below the pocket at 5/8, so it kind of sits in better. But I guess I'm a little rusty. Daniel told me I was gonna get rusty, but I didn't believe him. Just forgetful, I guess. But it turned out fine. It's a pocket. I do like a pocket. I just didn't feel like dealing with putting a pocket in the side of the zipper. I've done it. I just couldn't be bothered. Maybe I should ask myself, hey Sarah, what do you even like about sewing if you don't like putting in facings, don't like putting in sleeves, get annoyed with putting pockets in? What do I like about sewing? I don't know. Maybe I just like planning stuff. I do like sewing though. I must like sewing. I don't know how to procrastinate my work at college by sewing. Be like, oh, I have a paper due, how about I whip up a dress? Maybe I just like putting off other stuff for sewing. I'm not actually quite sure. But I guess I like sewing. Or maybe I do like pretty clothes. But I think I like sewing. You know, I don't think sewing is just a phase either. And I think I do like sewing. Otherwise I wouldn't still be sewing. And wouldn't still be buying fabric. Although fabric is arguably a completely different hobby than sewing. Because just because you like buying fabric doesn't mean you like sewing, you know? But I think I do like sewing. Which I sure hope I like sewing if I went to college for it and have as many sewing patterns as I do and as much fabric as I do and my little sewing room with all my sewing machines in it. So I sure hope I like sewing. If I don't, tough luck, 'cause I sew. Please excuse my hair also, because my bangs need cut and I need to cut my hair. But also there's no air conditioning in the bathroom and I was curling my hair in the bathroom and it's pretty humid right now. It's over 90 degrees, not 90, over 80 degrees. Maybe high 80s. So it's pretty hot up there and the curling iron was kind of struggling to curl my hair. So it's not my finest job. Ooh, it's finally raining. I've been waiting for it to rain because I could hear the thunder. And I hadn't watered my plants yet, but I was scared if I started watering it, then it would, because my raised beds are metal and I don't exactly want to die, so. But yeah, it's raining. I've been waiting for the rain for the past 2 hours. It said it was going to thunderstorm. Overall, I'm super happy with how this turned out. I think it fits pretty good. I feel like it's almost slightly too short in the back waist-wise. Sometimes the waistline wants to go up above where the belt is at, which isn't cute, but it's not the worst thing in the world. The sleeves, I ended up taking like half an inch out of this side pleat instead of putting in a gusset. And it's helped a little bit with the fact that it's cut on the wrong grain for fashion. So there's that. The side zipper is not my best side zipper, but it works. And I think with the gathers, it kind of hides it. And I could have just avoided that if I would have put the snaps in, but I feel like the zippers feels a little more secure in my opinion. But yeah, I think this turned out super cute. One thing I might do though is rip out the stitching under the arm and Same with the serging. And flip the seam allowance because I serged it towards the arm instead of upward, which usually that works fine, except with these sleeves, whenever the seam allowance was flipped that way, it did this like weird thing where with the puff. So I have the seam allowance tacked flipped towards my face and my shoulder versus flipped outwards towards the cap, and that helped some, but ideally it would be better if I actually went in and fixed it from under the arm also. But yeah, and I made this belt to go with it, and I think that was a good choice. I didn't necessarily want to do a tie, just for the fact that that takes up a lot of fabric, and it just seemed like kind of wasteful to get a whole tie out of this floral part. But I like it as a belt. So yeah. That's all I have for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. And if you'd like to see more summer sewing, please subscribe. If you'd like to see what I'm up to day to day, feel free to follow me on Instagram at Sarah V Sews Vintage. Thank you again for watching, and see you next time.